Hi, we're Team Wolverine, and we're here to tell you about our week's updates.
Yeah, so we got three interviews in. One with a geriatrics doctor, one with a French elderly man, and one with a French elderly woman. So a great finding that we had, especially, was with the French elderly man. And basically, his story was that he used to play soccer a lot when he was young. He was really good, but then he started working. He had kids, and eventually his wife died, so he didn't really have time to play anymore for a while. But now he wants to get back into it, but he doesn't find the people who could play with. So we realized that in that case that it would be very helpful for him to have a social network with who to play with.
Yeah, and then I also followed up with the Bay Area Sports League that we talked about last week, and it turned out it was far more competitive and hard, not very accessible for most elderly people to get into. So we found that not only did we find that the social element of sports is a very big draw for a lot of people, including my grandma, which we talked about last week, but also current sports leagues are really hard to find for elderly people. There's not one around here, and there's not one I found anywhere around the country based on some Google searching. So we combined these into How Might We?
Our how might we utilize social networks to motivate senior citizens to overcome barriers to exercise? And one of the ideas for doing that is through a website that we're calling Grind, and this is Grind. It's very rough, so bear with us. It's very rough, so bear with us. And this is Grind. At the top, as you can see, we have like our date, and on that date we have the different types of sports / activities are going on, and like who's going to those events, like the buttons on the side. And as you can see, you can also choose intermediate, introductory, and advanced levels, so that the elderly people can find other people who are trying to do the same types of activities as they are, and that can kind of create their own social network. This is like an introductory sports league, where elderly people are most likely probably going to be walking, but also they can do other sports. And when they're in their own sports leagues, you can see there with their own badge, it like creates a whole new community for them to work together.
And to clarify the difference between those two, the Grind app is not just for sports, but it's also for things like walking to a coffee shop together or just walking around. It's any activity that they could do together. It's not specifically sports.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another prototype we had was basically based on the idea that we could have high school students interact with elderly people and accompany them through various tasks. So like, walking to the coffee shop, etc. But it would be high school students who would do it. So we were thinking about like a little interface where like the different missions would be here, and like high school students could just like go on it and like see what is available and just help elderly people have a more social exercising experience, even though it's macro exercising. And finally,
so we have two more ideas. So one is Tai Chi. A lot of my family does it, and it's like a very great way for them to exercise, but it involves a lot of tacit knowledge because not everyone knows how to do it. It involves a lot of memory, and it's a very hard thing to get into if you've never done it before. So we thought about modifying it to make it as accessible as possible for elderly people based on like arthritis and other injuries or other possible injuries, and also making it into an easily learnable video for everyone to get together and learn like that. That's an example. And finally, we had the idea that colleges typically want to involve their elderly alumni network because it's some of like the most potent donors. And so utilizing college networks to create.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you have a stapler?
Yeah, in my desk. Utilizing alumni networks around the country to create localized sports leagues. College would be incentivized to do this to engage their alumni, and elderly alumni would be incentivized to do this because it would give them exercising opportunities, and it would create a sense of nostalgia getting back to the people that they were friends with in high school and college. In this week we want to test these. Thank you.